Coach?
Yeah, just in general, I think we coaches did a great job of filling what needs we had. We felt depth-wise, and then also I think every year our level of athlete gets a little better, and so does the type of student athlete we get. So from that standpoint, I think everybody is pleased on our staff with the decisions we made on some of these kids. So from that standpoint, it's a real positive thing. This setting is always just, for me, just open up the questions for you guys to ask about particular guys. We'll probably end up talking about most of them, but just fire away, whoever want to ask.
What area or position did you identify as the biggest needs going into this recruiting season?
I felt like we needed to get some depth in the offensive line, and we still have an opportunity, we think, to get one more O-lineman down the line, but we have 5, I think, right now. And all 5 are very athletic guys that are kind of made for what we do, we feel.
In terms of numbers, are you at your limit right here, or can you?
No, we still have one more. We really our thought prior to the signing day was to have 3 or 4 left over for possible transfers. Whenever there's a big turnover in college football, you get a lot of phone calls and a lot of kids in particular that want to come home. We had an interesting situation come up about 10 days, 2 weeks ago with some of the kids that we signed from Army Prep School. Rich Ellerson, of course, got let go at Army, and he and I played together, coached together, and when we looked at the kids that he recommended to us, he was right. They're very, very good kids and very good football players. So we still are in a position with one of those opportunities, but that will probably be not till June that we make that call.
When you and Coach Ellerson spoke about the 3 guys who ended up signing today, did you think you were going to be getting all 3 as a package deal, or did you think there's a chance you might get just 1, just 2?
I was thinking just probably 1 or 2 until I looked at all of them, and then he was right. Rich is a very good football coach, and he had these kids in the prep school, and so they're going to come in as true freshmen this year. And when I first looked at the first kid, Sean Kitagawa, from the Big Island at Kamehameha, I thought that immediately he was one of the best I've looked at on tape, and so I was thinking when I turned it off that, well, that'd probably be the guy, and then just kept looking at the other 2 guys, and he's listed as a wide receiver on here, Wilkinson, but he also played defensive back, and he was a state 100 and 200 meter in Oklahoma. So that gives you a little bit of idea of his athleticism. And he's a little bigger guy. He's a 6-foot, corner, 6-foot receiver. So all 3 of those kids are very, very interesting athletes and academically strong kids also.
You got 3 or 4 guys in this class: Daryl Colbert, Anthony Roan, Tony Richards, and then J.R. Reed, if you look, I guess, to a gray shirt, all of whom had fathers who played professional football. How much does that factor into the evaluation process that you and your staff go through?
I can't talk about the kids that aren't here, but the ones that are on the sheet here, Jake, we have connections all the way back. There was another kid that played for me that was here on the weekend also, but the kids that are here, you have connections to their parents, their families, their high school coaches, their college coaches. It is a factor, but it's not the determining factor. The film is the factor that decides whether you take them or not.
You talked about bulking up the depth on the offensive line. When you recruit these guys, do you target them specifically at center, guard, tackle, or do you just take linemen and figure out where they'll fit later?
Well, I think that when we look at him, you do say, well, he'll probably play tackle for us, or you say he can play guard or tackle for us. You know, obviously the kid we signed and is here now, William Barnes, was a center, and he's only a center from Highland Park. So, you know, those decisions sometimes happen once you get them on the field. I think Tony is definitely a tackle, Tony Richards. We really liked him as a junior athletically, but we didn't see him on any game film because he didn't really play. And so when I told his dad, when he gets 6 or 7 games, we'll make a decision on him. And after watching him, he's going to be a really, really good pass protector and tackle, and he's got a little mean streak in him like his father had too, so he's going to be a good player.
How would you expect the same amount of guys to see action immediately as last year?
Of the O-line group, I think probably maybe 3 of them probably will immediately get some chance to play. I really, you know, talking with the coaches, and of course we offered the Brown kid, Evan, real early, but we liked him in camp and we liked him on film as a junior, and then, you know, his high school coach said he's the best offensive lineman he's ever had, and he's a great kid, pays attention to the academic part of it too, and you know, I think he has a chance to compete right away, as does William. William does too.
5 years ago, you took Margus Hunt and turned him into a football player. Now you've got Bozadar and Tunovich.
Yeah.
How would you compare or contrast the two of them as Bo gets ready for his first go-around with you?
Well, I think, you know, we were kind of going back and forth of where we're going to take our shot with Bo, and we've made a decision he's going to play offense. His body is a little bit more conducive to that. He's very explosive, as you can tell on his what he's done in his track. I think athletically, he's a better athlete, I think, than Margus. And so both, obviously, Margus and he are very explosive athletes. He can't run like Margus ran, just in a 40-yard dash, but he's got unbelievable athleticism, and he's a big kid that's going to get bigger, you know. So we'll teach him how to pass block, and you know, we'll probably have a shot to get him to the next level too.
When you got Margus 5 years ago, you talked about what a great athlete he was, but you said the next thing you had to figure out was whether he liked the combat, I think was the way you described it. Is there any way to look at a kid or to look at his background and guess how he'll react to that kind of thing?
Not really on the track athletes. I mean, I knew it, like I think I told you the story when Margus first played, he wanted to fight, so I knew that he was tough enough. You know, offensively, I think you're just going to have the competition of doing everything and learning everything for the first time for Bo is going to be, you know, this spring he'll get a little feel for it, and then hopefully get better through the summer, and then have a chance to compete in the fall. So,
what role do you expect Daniel Gresham to play as a freshman?
I would think he'll be a kid that has a chance to compete right away. He's probably one of the most talented kids that we have on the list. His highlight tape, I think, if you look at it, you see why everybody was on him. I think the special thing about him is the type of kid he is. He is really, really a special kid. He's involved in many things. He cares about his teammates. He's just a leader, you know. And I think that, more than anything, that type of character is even stands out more when I talked with him than his play. So you get both of them in him.
He talked about what he did in the weight room. Squats, I think, 600 and something pounds. Have you ever had a running back come in with that kind of strength?
Barry Sanders.
He worked out all right.
He's the only one.
Coach, you signed 2 quarterbacks this year. Was that a position of need? And, you know, going back to what you said about maybe looking at other kids down the line, is that a position you're always looking to add to?
Always looking for quarterbacks. You know, you find out real fast you can't play without one. And we think we have 2 real, well, we got really 3 or 4 kids on campus right now. The 2 that come to mind are Colony Neil, who are going to get a lot of reps this spring. Stitch got in the game late and has improved so much. And we have a walk-on from Oregon that really got better as the year went on. So we got 4 guys this spring that are going to take a lot of reps. And these 2 kids are interesting. I saw Daryl. He's kind of in a run offense, kind of like in high school. Like I use this just because he kind of reminds me of him, of Russell Wilson. He runs an offense in high school similar to what Russell ran at Wisconsin, and he's very accurate with the football deep. He is a runner, but he doesn't look to run, just like Russell. He looks to pass, and he's only lost, I think, 2 games in his whole life since the 7th grade. So, he's pretty good leader and competitor. And the other kid we had in camp as a junior, and we offered him right away when we saw him. Jordan is a very, very gifted, talented, NFL-looking guy. Has a good background in the passing game, and he's a leader at his school. And we've liked him from day one when we saw him compete in our camp. And I know he's excited about coming and trying to go to that next level too. So competition is good for everybody, makes everybody better, and we have kind of some different guys in there that are all going to be fighting for some of that playing time, which makes, like I said, makes you better.
You mentioned Jordan Sievert. He's obviously a big, strong guy. This lists him at 6'4", 248. He's from Austin. Is it too much? Is it too easy or kind of a cop-out to draw comparisons between him and Garrett Gilbert, since they have same hometown, similar body styles?
I remember Garrett coming out a little bit because it was 2 weeks before the signing day when I came, and we offered him coming out. But I would find it hard to believe that he's as good an athlete as Garrett, but he throws the ball very similar. Garrett was a way better runner than I realized he was, and his highlight tape that I just sent off to a bunch of NFL teams was, if you look at that, you'd take him just on the running part, not even the passing. If he can, he seems like he's a gym rat like Garrett was, where he wants to know and is hungry for the game. So, we'll see how that progresses, obviously, as he grows up.
In recent years, it looks like you've been collecting big safeties. You got Cortland Sutton this year, Miles Crosby last year, Shaquille Randolph. Is that by design, or is it just sort of coincidence that guys you like happen to be particularly tall?
Well, we're trying to, get guys that look more like, bigger safeties. So to answer your question, yes. Sean Kitagawa now does not look like that and probably plays the best, but he's a little more undersized than those guys. But Sutton is a tremendous athlete. So is the guys Shaquille and Miles that we have. They're going to end up getting on the football field a lot, just like Shaquille did at the end of the year. But Sutton is a great basketball player, really a smooth athlete. When we looked at him, it was kind of the same we said about Miles, that eventually they might be outside linebackers because they can really rush and they got that edge. So if they grow up and now they're 240 instead of 220. That you can play them at outside linebacker, so that's kind of why we're in that mode.
How many of these guys could play different positions? Like wide receivers could be defensive backs, that kind of thing?
Well, Sutton played both. He played both ways, but he looked like more burst on defense, so we're going to start him on defense. Shaquille played both, when he was in high school the same way. I liked him as a receiver too. The Wilkinson kid caught 60 balls in high school as a receiver, but he played defense. He played corner at the Prep Academy, so all his film was at corner that we looked at. But when I saw his times in the 200 and the 100, he may play receiver.
Jackson Kuntz, do you see him as a kicker, a punter, both?
Punter, but he did kick too. But this year for sure, he will get an opportunity to, to prove to us he can't punt. What I'm saying is he'll be the starter most likely. So he's going to get his chance.
2 years ago, you said Derek Longoria might get a crack at it as well,
Yeah.
and he sat out a semester with wrist surgery or whatever it was. Is
He's
that
got a
still
powerful leg. I
possibility?
mean, he's out there kicking every day, but he'd have to, be more consistent. His back kicks sometimes go as good as some of the other guys' good ones, but to answer your question, yeah, he'll still be out there kicking, but I think this Kuntz kid has a flexibility on the film like the great ones have. He's got a little different ball coming off his foot.
Whose signature were you sweating the most, either in the last couple of days or maybe even this morning?
This business has changed so much. It's like all the drama's out of it now. By Sunday, used to be you didn't know, who was coming, who didn't. I mean, we had one of those kids that we were recruiting that was going to try to say that he wanted to wait till Wednesday. Well, I don't want to wait till Wednesday. So, told him, if you don't tell us now, we're going to the next guy. And that's what we did. So, some of the bigger schools maybe do it that way, but for us, we know who we want and who we got, and we pretty much nailed everybody by Sunday, when they leave here after the visit.
Were you surprised that Daniel Gresham fell into your lap like that?
Yes, that was unexpected, definitely. We had recruited some kids off their film, but he was real early commit to the big schools all had offered him. And, it was interesting how all that thing happened. I mean, he wanted to go to Texas when he committed to Louisville, wanted to go to Texas, but they already were full. So it ended up that, when we heard that, we called over and said, hey, we'd like to get in on it. And sure enough, we did.
You got a couple linebackers who are a little bit under 6 feet, Kyron Mitchell and Inoke Ngalo. Are those guys that you take hoping they're going to still grow a couple inches, or do you look at them like Taylor Reed?
I think the Mitchell kid will get a little bit bigger, but I don't think if Inoke plays at his weight all the way through, he's fine. He's the real deal. Both those kids just find the football and make plays. I think the Mitchell kid will get better. His body frame is not as developed. It wouldn't surprise me if Inoke gains 10 or 15 more pounds, but if he's played at the weight he's playing right now, it's enough to do what we're going to ask him to do.
How tight a stranglehold do you have on Lamar High School in Houston?
Well, we have some kids there. Shelby is coming from this year. We offered him the same time we got Sid last year, and he's a explosive player in a run offense, and you can see by the schools that were recruiting him, even though his numbers are not like what you usually see the big time receivers having, it's because of the offense he's in. But yet the schools recruiting him are all understand that he's pretty explosive. So, from that standpoint, you end up, kids know each other, and it ends up you have a shot at another good player just because you have one of those kids.
Do you have fewer guys from out of state? If so, is that by design?
It wasn't by design. I didn't count the numbers of out of state, but it wasn't by design. We really just kind of, to be quite honest, we look at the film and talk to the coaches, and if we like the kid, the film really doesn't lie on these guys, and the coaches grade them, and we make decisions on them, and that's how we do it.
A couple of these guys came from schools that are either very young schools or have new programs, new coaching staffs. Nick Natur up in Frisco, Darius Doral in Houston. Do you target places like that where maybe a school is sort of under the radar of some other recruiters?
Not really. We just, we go to the schools. Whoever the coaches in that area goes to the schools. We target ask the coaches and get who are the prospects. We grade them either while we're in spring, and then watch them as they start their senior year on film. And the running back from South Houston is a very gifted player, and he's even bigger now than he was when he looks like a Barry Sanders type size kid, 205 pound, and he looked when we first saw him like he was 180, So he's got good feet and catches the ball. We think he can play running back or slot for us. Latour kid is a real good offensive lineman, and, you know, maybe got overlooked because he was at that school, but because we, you know, the coaches go in and watch him in spring and then evaluate him early in the season, then, you know, you make your decisions, like I said, off of the tape.
Any of these guys that you feel like you stole from another program that you?
Well, Daniel Gresham obviously is, you know, one that I think is a cut above. You know, Jordan Ingram from Dallas Carter is a very explosive vertical player. You know, I think everybody kind of has a little something about them, you know, that's special. The punter is pretty gifted. The punter and kicker is pretty gifted. So, you know, all those kids have a little something about them.
Is there any position or area that you wish maybe you'd gotten one more?
I don't think so. Not at this point. No. I think the areas that we needed were linebacker and O-line because of the graduation schedule. I was kind of excited about getting the O-lineman the same time, like Daniel's coming in, same time our running backs are here. Prescott's going to be a sophomore, so, you know, they can play together for, you know, for 4 or 5 years, and that was important.
Anything else, guys? Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.